Real people, real breakthroughs. This is the Psychology of Eating podcast, where psychology and nutrition meet to uncover the true causes of our unwanted eating concerns. Your relationship with food will never be the same. Now, here's your host, eating psychology expert, and founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, Marc David.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, and here we are in the Psychology of Eating podcast. I'm with Haley. Welcome, Haley.
Hi, Marc.
Hi, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad we're doing this. For those of you who are new to the podcast, or even if you're not new, so this is our follow-up session. So previously, Haley and I met a bunch of months ago, 6, 7, 8 months ago, and we're just following up now and seeing, okay, was it helpful? Did our time together, spur anything for you or help you along your journey? And I'm wondering if you could just take just a minute and recap for people what your kind of challenge was that you were coming in with, that you had wanted to work on.
Yeah, sure. So at the time, I was struggling with some body image issues and just that negative self-talk cycle. The whole perfectionism, that virus that just got into my head. So we talked about that. We talked a little bit about my binge eating and stuff, but not really. We mainly focused on the body image and the perfectionism. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how's that been for you? Because that was the mind talk that was going on for you has been pretty strong for a while. The perfectionism piece has been pretty strong. So what were some of the takeaways that you came away with from the session that you felt you were able to kind of put into action maybe?
I loved the homework where I got my boyfriend Pat to let him know that I'm trying this out, and that he whenever he'd give me a compliment, I had to just take a breath and properly receive that and just acknowledge that and receive his love, and that was a really fun piece of homework. That was really cool, and it was really funny. Sometimes he'd say something and then he'd be like, "Babe, you've got to take this in, remember?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, okay." And but it was really good. It was like a wee team effort, that one, and I enjoyed that. And I really liked the other piece of homework too. I did a big mind map of all these amazing feelings and things that I would have in my life when I have that sort of ideal body. And that's been really nice to actually be able to, when I tap into all those feelings, I can have that right now. I just have to feel worthy to tap into that.
That's pretty big, huh?
Yeah.
Was that surprising for you?
I think it was just so nice to have a couple of practical steps and specifically aimed at me. I mean, it's so easy to go and think, "Oh yeah, that could work," or "That might be good for me." But it was so nice for you to be like, "Haley, I want you to do A, B, C." Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what have you noticed since you've done that little inventory? So what's been happening in your head? How's the mind talk? How's the perfectionism thing?
Well, when I was in New Zealand, it was fantastic. A lot has changed in my life since we last talked. A lot. Moving across the world, adjusting to living in a city. I've had 3 months by myself. So things have just changed completely. And it's been really nice to be able to come back to that advice. It's been really hard, probably the hardest 3 months I've had in a long time. So it'd be fair to say that the voice in my head has gotten really strong, but I'm actually starting to feel really good, and I'm starting to feel that sort of sparkly Haley is like coming back out. So that's good.
Mm-hmm. So things were going good in New Zealand for a while. And then when you kind of made this big transition, okay, not so good.
Yeah.
So when they were going good, what was different? When things were going good, what did you notice?
I just felt lighter. Like I just gave myself permission to feel all these amazing things. And if I couldn't do that, I knew that I'd just have to spend some time processing and it would pass, and to just know that I when I'm feeling good, I look good. And so that was a really nice piece of advice that I took away. But yeah, things just seemed, it was just so fun to just give myself permission to feel all those amazing things.
Got it. So, and then making the transition, moving halfway across the world, that's probably a little stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what started changing? What did you notice started happening? You made certain strides, and then all of a sudden, do you think it was back to what it used to be, worse than what it used to be, different? How would you describe it?
It was good for a wee while there. Like I managed to take all my little things that I do to make me feel good, and I was doing them. And then all of a sudden, I think just the stress of this whole new environment and like adjusting to a whole new country and traveling around just took its toll, and the stress of that just took over. And I did feel really like my binging came back full force, like probably similar to what it was 4 years ago or so. But at the same time, I have new knowledge and wisdom to deal with that situation. So it's really hard, but I have so many more insights to understand what's going on and actually seek support and know that it's like a little wee divine message for me.
So is it fair to say, I'm going to say these words, but tell me if they're really true for you, that, okay, so the binge eating came back and wow, just as challenging and it's as it might have ever been, but I have more tools. I'm kind of paraphrasing. You say I have more tools to deal with it. Do you feel like you've been dealing with it, encountering it, looking to manage it, looking to move through it? Have you actually noticed, these tools are working for me. I'm moving through this in a different way. Is that true for you?
Definitely. And like I'd go through the phases of wanting to fight it and wanting to get rid of it. And then I would turn a corner, and I talked to another graduate, Victoria, last week, and she helped me gain perspective and see it as like my best friend. It's actually helping me relax in a real stressful environment, and it's helping me drop into my feminine. And yeah, so it was really nice I think I did need to go through that process of everything that was going on. Like I can't just stop it. It's obviously helping me get through something, and then I'm kind of out on the other side now, which is nice.
I want to highlight, Haley, this is for you and this is for all of us. I think it's important to know, in life in general, but especially as it relates to eating challenges, transition times are the hardest times. When we're transitioning from one thing to another, from this to that, from being single to getting married, or being married to getting divorced, or being pregnant to having a kid, or moving, or different job, or death of a loved one, or transition times, even when it's a good transition, can be very stressful. And transition times are usually when people are having some of their most self-punishing behaviors, because we don't have our firm ground, we don't have our usual things that help give us stability necessarily. So what I'm happy for you about is that, yeah, you've noticed that, wow, this came back, but I have the tools now. And to me, that's where the real learning happens. The real learning happens when we dig in and we use what we have to not slip into unconsciousness, to not slip into darkness, to not slip into behaviors that just constantly do themselves without our input. And that's not easy. If it was easy, we would do it. It would be easy, but it's just not easy to transcend that. And that's why we have just certain tools of self-awareness, of different practices around self, around food, journaling, whatever it is. So I just want to point out that to my mind, this is the real work, is being able to say, okay, I've had an inspiration, I've had an opening, and then when a difficult time comes back around, okay, now I'm going to use what I've learned. Because life is always going to circle back with difficulties. We're always going to have difficulties on some level, no matter how smart, rich, famous, skinny, strong, whatever it is that we get, no matter how perfect we are, there's always going to be challenges that take us to our edge, most likely. So it's how do we deal with those and kind of stay on the horse without falling off, or without staying off once we fall off. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I'm happy for you that you've noticed that and that you've been working it. And to me, that's the kind of momentum. It's a little bit of a slower momentum, but it's one of the strongest kinds where you're a lot more battle tested now on a certain level.
Yeah.
So what helps you these days now feel grounded in your body and in your relationship with food? What helps you return to just loving yourself and not getting sucked into perfectionism?
I actually think it's just being really honest with where I'm at, and actually talking to someone that I trust, and like fully. The other day I had this amazing conversation with a friend who's also traveling, and we were just so honest with each other, and it turns out we were going through all the same stuff, but it just really helped me own my journey and be really grateful that I was going through this and that it was okay. You know, it wasn't just me. And I think I've just done a lot of journaling, and I've been really open to growth during this time, and I know that I'm going to get through it. It's just hard.
Yeah. I think that's perfectly put. Excuse the perfectionism statement, but you couldn't have said it better. And I think what you just said it's true for all age groups, and at the same time, it's especially true for younger people that you have to remember that this is just helping you grow. It's here to help you grow, even though we don't like it. It doesn't feel great. It's challenging. It's here to help us grow and get stronger. And that the more we understand that it's here to help us grow, the more we can help it move along quicker.
Yeah.
And learn whatever lessons it's trying to teach us. And sometimes we got to be really patient, because you might be great now for months or for years, and then something happens and, oh my God, I'm binge eating again, and I'm going through all this perfectionistic nonsense in my head. And then we have another opportunity to strengthen ourselves. So it's not about being perfect and getting rid of it. It's about learning, I think, how to navigate so well that when things come up, we're confident that we have the tools. We kind of love ourselves through it. We get support. We allow ourselves to be human. And we let ourselves be a little bit fragile and not perfect, because it's kind of what we are anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm happy for you. I think you're doing a great
Thanks.
job, and congratulations on moving across the world. That must have been big.
Yeah. I don't think I quite knew what I was getting myself in for.
I want to go eat a bunch of food just hearing about that. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. And we have to find stability, and sometimes stability comes with old habits, or sometimes stability comes with food. Like that to the mind occurs as, oh, that'll give me stability to do the thing that seems so familiar.
Yeah, and it was just I was using it to de-stress, and I was using it to
Hmm.
ground myself. Um, and so I've just, now that I know what it was there for, it's so much easier to try and choose more nourishing ways when that comes up. And I'm
Hmm.
not going to do that every time, and that's okay.
Exactly. Good for you. I think you've got I think you've got the right attitude and the right approach, and as you say, you have the tools, and this is your time in life to be practicing them as you need to whenever they come up, and to, I think, love yourself. Just keep loving yourself through this journey. Um, so, are you still in the same relationship? You're still with your boyfriend?
Yeah, so I had 3 months by myself, and he's coming over this week, so I'm really excited.
Yay, good for you.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he was able to come on board with you as well, and be just supportive of your process, and be willing to kind of play and help you learn to, just help hold up the mirror for you, and get some loving reflections about yourself, because that was another piece. Sometimes it's hard for us to love ourselves. So if we can get help from the outside, meaning somebody else is there who's enjoying us, or enjoying how we look, or adoring us, then you take that in.
Mm.
And it's literally practice in, it's no different than eating food and assimilating it. It's like we have to assimilate what the world is giving us, especially when it's healthy and is good for us. I think the whole point about being perfectionists is so we can feel good about what we have. It's like, oh, I want to have this great life, or this great body, or this great diet, this great whatever it is. And then we can go, wow, I'm so great. Uh,
Mm.
and well, part of that is we're already getting compliments a lot of times from the universe. Are we actually receiving them? Are we being grateful for what we already have? That really kind of gets the wheels greased, and allows us to finally let in the thing that we say that we want. We got to practice it. So, Haley, thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
Yes. And anything else you want to share before we finish up about your journey, your experience?
I think the biggest thing for me was just reaching out and getting that support, and not trying to do it by myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thanks.
Thank you, Haley. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Once again, I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. On behalf of the Psychology of Eating podcast, we have lots more coming, my friends. Take care. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for listening to the Psychology of Eating podcast. To learn more about the breakthrough body of work we teach here at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, please sign up for our free video series at ipe.tips. That's I for Institute, P for Psychology, E for Eating.tips, TIPS. You'll learn about the cutting-edge principles of dynamic eating psychology and mind-body nutrition that have helped millions of people forever transform their relationship with food, body, and health.